It's cool. We got rid of the big baddies who don't like tell the people the truth. And now we have to, now all of these people are going to have questions for us. And I don't know if we're really going to have all the answers that they really want to hear. So there'll be a lot of politicking for sure.
I think Abria's trying to kill me. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Trying to kill you. She killed me. I'm actually a ghost. And I'm here to tell you that Abria is the best and the worst at the same time.
And I was like, oh, it's a shorter episode. Maybe it'll be, nope, not less stressful. Somehow more stressful than a Box of Doom episode.
Yeah, and I was wearing my Oprah t-shirt, which is supposed to give me good luck. And I just sweat through it. It was really a time. Just, I think of all the times like the camera hits my face, I'm going like, oh my God, no. Or I whisper something to myself and they zoom in, we get all the reactions. I mean, and there's still so much more to happen. At first I thought the bear was going to be like, oh, okay, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And she just lulls you into like a confident space. You're like, oh, we're with our family. We're learning in this new place. There's puppets, fun. And then just hits us with the gore, the wolf. When the head sliced off, I lost it. I couldn't believe it.
That was just completely horrifying. It got worse every time.
It got worse every time. And my tactic of like, oh, I'm just going to slice this thing up. And Brennan being so kind to be like, this animal needs help. And I'm going to try. We're so on other sides of the spectrum of like how we are going to solve problems, but so similar in the sisterhood. I don't have any sisters. So it's been very interesting to play with Brennan as my big sister.
I love that. Can you talk about developing that relationship with him? Because it feels really, really natural from the get-go.
When we had our initial cast meetup and we kind of talked about what everyone was going to do, and it kind of settled out like, I think the first thing was that Siobhan wanted to be a karate boy. So how do we develop a family around then? And then it kind of settled that we were to be paladins. And I never played a paladin before. And it was just such an interesting new perspective for the game. And Brennan was really kind in everything that he does, but we're just like kind of developing our repertoire of like, oh, this is a family. But we knew we didn't want to be like, fighting siblings, because our characters are like older and a little bit more mature. So they've kind of like gone through that sort of stuff. And I hadn't had the chance to play with Brennan because I'd only been staring at him on the screen watching Dimension 20 for the last 5 years. But he and Izzy invited me to play improv with them. So kind of shortly after our character development, we got to be on stage and play with each other. And in person, he has so much energy, and we'll just go balls to the wall and basically throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And that's kind of my improv style. I love to just like be a big character and just do whatever we need to do to make it the most fun. And our energies matched. And I was like, oh, this is going to be really fun to sit at the table with him. And at first, I was in shock. I think there was a whole time I was just staring at everyone like, is this a prank that you asked me to be here? Because if so, it's a very mean prank. But a good prank, good long con to trick me into this. But I think we just kind of hit it from the get-go, and you can see that we're like check in with each other at the table often, just like through eyes. So he's kind of learning a little bit of Black girl communication, like telling a whole story between our eyebrows and our eyes. So he's coming along quite nicely.
Can you talk to me about the moment of stepping into the dome as a fan of Dimension 20 and sitting at that table?
Yes, that was surreal because Jasper and I, being the new kids at the table before, we were like, okay, we're going to be chill. We're going to be cool. We're going to, we're both freaking out inside. Like, oh my God, we're literally sitting at the table. So we get in, we're like, okay, they tell us where we're going to sit. And we're right next to each other. And as we're sitting down, like it just washed over us. Like we looked up and saw the dome and the blue dome, and we were in it and sitting at the table. And I just got so overwhelmed that I started to cry. That I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. Like makeup running and Jasper's hugging me. And then Abria sees us crying from across the room and just swaddles us up in a big hug. It was very emotional and surreal. Like I had kind of manifested in my head. I didn't know anyone at Dropout at the time when I first started watching. I was like, man, it would be I would love to sit at that table and play. I will sit at this table at some point. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I kind of just willed it into existence. And it happened so quickly and with such a great cast. And I'm so, so thankful and lucky to be like a fangirl who made it to the table, doing it for all the fangirls.
Can you talk to me a little bit about developing Viola and creating the relationship with Thorne? Because that is also one that it feels so lived in from immediately.
Yeah, Jasper and I, after we had character creation, because we met over Zoom. He was still in the UK at the time while we were developing everything, and we didn't know. I knew him from Three Black Halflings. I was familiar with his work, and we'd had a separate Zoom, just like a husband-wife Zoom, to be like, what's our dynamic? We talked about our backstory, about how Thorne and the Lakura had like kind of developed trade with our Burrow and the Lakura, and that was our connection of like Viola was the go-between, and they kind of fell in love during trading back and forth. There's lots of stories of the outside world, and she's more, kind of in a gated community, so she was just, glamored by all of the world that's out there. And we just vibed so hard straight away. Like, I do consider Jasper like a good mate, if I'm using that word correctly. We're buds. Like, we just bonded from the start of like, we really want to lift each other up and have a good time in the dome. Like, not put so much pressure on ourselves that we can't have fun, but enough pressure on ourselves to go full out. Don't like hold anything back. Because at some point I think we got a little heated, the relationship seems lived in, but I think I like hollered at him a little bit, but that felt like, oh, we're really acting. It felt like I was in a scene study. I've said it before that I felt like this experience was like the most immersive play like that I'd ever been in. So we were just, and it was in a week amount, and in 1 week it took to like put all this together. So it was really on top of it. But when coming up with the character of Viola, I wanted what Viola Davis is the inspiration, because she's one of my favorite actresses. And it also was a little bit Auntie Vi from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like trying to think of like all the best aunties in the world, because I have the best aunties in the world. I have 5 aunties. So I have a lot of source material to draw from. And she was like the church lady, kind of the leader of this cult in a way. And in every cult documentary I've ever watched, yes, there's the leader, this male figure, but there's always a very fashionable woman in the back actually running the show. So I was like, well, who is she? I want to see her more in the foreground. And so that just gave me a lot to play with. And I was thinking a lot of Lady Macbeth and kind of the want for power, but then that kind of morphed as the plague, as we kept going through the episodes. Like, that was her intention. There's still a lot of Viola reaching and grabbing for power, not knowing that those coppers were actually coppers. That blew my mind. Yes. Abria snuck that in. It was right in front of our faces, and she was just laughing at us the whole time. She's so sneaky. But like, kind of developing like, what is your role in a family? What is status? What does that mean within your family? What does that mean outside your family? What does that mean within your like personal, intimate relationships? So it was kind of a scene study in family dynamics that I really enjoyed.
Could you tell me what inspired the decision to have Viola become pregnant during the season? Because I did love the fact of like, they do this when they feel safe. And I can't believe she feels safe.
Not at all. Yeah, what's that quote that Abria says about D&D? Like, you should have a secret. Like, each player has a secret. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind, that what was going to be her big secret? What was going to be the reveal? What would like really gag the family about like, okay, this, your happy-go-lucky child who seems to be, larger than life and not really thinking about the future, actually buckles down and says, this is my partner. This is the life that we've set up. Deal with it. Because the gestation of stoats, they can decide when they want to become pregnant. And that was such a fascinating thing, especially with the state of women's health in America and the world. It's like, I would love some ownership and some autonomy over my own body. And just, having ownership of deciding like, this is the time. This may not be the best time, obviously, because there is, deathly smog trying to like take us out. But having the ownership to say, this is what I want. This is my choice. and this is what I want to do with my body. So I felt very powerful in that way, but also didn't feel like Viola had to be so soft and like untouchable. Like she's still a badass, even though she's carrying a litter. So everyone's badass in that way.
I love that. Then I'll break down some of the craziness from this episode. So Jason was saved last episode. Everything's great. Ava immediately disappears into the blue.
Oh my God, when Erica left the room, I was like, oh, are they dead?
Yeah.
Are they gone forever? Someone tell me something. There was a lot of moments where people stood up from the table and said, no more. This is too stressful. I know I had a moment too, but that blew my mind. Just all of the details. Again, I have to shout out the creative team behind Dimension 20. They do so much detailed work that I was just so blown by. And even that reactor core, like seeing down, like there was it looked like a elk head, and there were skeleton bones everywhere. They just do so much detail. That really blew me. And I was like, oh, these look like brownie squares, but no, they're radioactive metal that will kill you if you even get a little bit close to it. It was amazing.
I'd prefer brownie squares, but yes.
yeah, I would prefer brownie squares too.
What did you think when Erica came back to the table? Because that blew my mind.
I liked having the suspense of we may not see Grandma ever again, but it allowed us to figure out, like, what is this family dynamic when the big boss is gone? How do we solve problems? And that's kind of when Big Sister stood up and became Tutu and really let us know, like, oh, we have a lot of great skills that she may stress it. Our grandmother may stress us out a lot, but gave us a lot of tools to survive. I think we have a lot more know-how than a lot of the other stoats that are in the last Bast, because they're just going with the flow. They have no idea what potentially is coming for them. So it's a little scary.
And y'all completely blew up what their lives were, because
immediately walked in and said, actually, I'd like to change everything. I'd like to speak to the manager. Actually, I want to speak to the manager's manager. Could I speak to the regional manager, please?
You killed the manager and the
sure did.
Manager and everything.
Killed the manager and was like, oh, my daughters are going to be in charge now. I love a forward brassy lady. And Erica, they are so amazing. I was really I'm a fan of everybody at the table, but Erica was very good in the beginning of saying, hey, we're going to get into these family dynamics and these family ideas. If at any point you feel I'm going too hard, or you feel like this is not going the way that you want, Erica was more than willing to like pull back, but we said, I was very comfortable, like, let's get into it, let's do it. So there was a sense of safety and community that we could play the way we wanted to because we had those guardrails up.
And then can you talk to me a little bit about how Viola was feeling when Ava disappeared? Because we see a lot of tension and friction in that relationship. I have to say, I think one of my favorite lines is when Viola says, I'm worried, Mom. And she's like, that tracks.
Yeah, she's a pretty blunt lady. So trying to find sift through the kind of that hardness to, if Ava is a hard candy, we're trying to get to that soft, gooey part in the middle. Like, we know it's there, but that exterior has been built up for so long, it's hard to crack. Even if you're someone's child, there's obviously things that you're never going to know about your parent because they're trying to make sure that you feel as protected as possible. So when Ava was gone, I felt like I was basically reaching out for her, trying to pull her through the blue. It felt very like mommy, like, oh my gosh, she's gone. It felt like baby, like ups, I want uppies, that sort of thing. So it really pulled at my heartstrings. And in these next few episodes, I know that there are going to be some really emotional. I wept several times getting into this kind of mother-daughter dynamic. So it wasn't pain, it wasn't joy or anything like that. It was kind of like a numbness of like, what am I supposed to do? Like, she could have, had the litter right there and just like the shock of like, oh, Mom's gone. How am I going to be? I can't be a mom without my mom. I was feeling like there will be someone missing. The hole will be too big. It'll be too hard to fill to become everything that Ava was or could be. Yeah, I think we can't not have Ava. I think that would be really devastating for Viola.
Well, we did find out Ava's heart isn't beating, which is terrifying in its own right. But then we found out that has something to do with Tula's secret. What was like? What went through your mind when those two reveals happened immediately back to back, and then ended the episode?
I was so glad that that line, the very last line, kept in, and I said, "Why is my sister such a sneaky bitch?" Like, I was so mad. I think I threw down a pen and was like, "You're lying to me. How dare you?" But I know there was a point during character creation where Abria was like, you could take this feat or a feat or a trait or something. If not, they left the room and Abria like whispered something. So there was always a little secret that we never knew. And again, I think it's just being like having blinders on and being the little sister and be like, my world is great. I have everything I could ever want. My niece and nephew think I'm the coolest person in the world. My husband's hot. My mom is, carries around a raccoon dick. Bash anybody. And my sister's kind of stressed out, but she used to be cool. Like, I thought I had everything going, thought I knew everything about the world, but then, drops that foot. I was mad. I was looking at Brennan sideways like, how dare you lie to me? I thought we were cool. We're supposed to be sisters. What's wrong with you, Brennan? It was a good reveal. I loved it.
It was definitely a good reveal, and it has me so stressed for what is coming in the future.
Y'all are not ready. I mean, you really aren't. I was screaming my head off. The last few maps are beautiful. The story gets even more like intense and wild, and it makes me think, what are Bria's dreams like? Maybe let's go through a couple of her journals and see if there's anything that we could really if she gets this arms race that they're in, all the DMs, it's only going to get more crazy. And I think it's good for the rest of us because we get to see what they can dream up. But I can't wait. I cannot wait. I think everyone is going to gag, honey. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be, it's nuts. It really, really is.
Every time I talk to one of you guys, you say next episode is going to be more insane, and it somehow delivers.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And also like, so stressful because I watch this in the middle of the night and I'm just like, I can't go to bed now, man. I'm just gonna sit here for an hour staring at the wall, disassociated. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and bears are my favorite animal. So now every time I think of my favorite animal, I have to like rectify with like, and then what if I had just like eaten its brain? I have to live with my choices. I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. And now I'm like, oh, should I get a bear skin wrong? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe a faux one. Maybe we just do plushies from now on. No more realness. No more realness.
She got a little too real with that bear.
Yeah, sure did. Sure did.
Can you talk to me about playing with Abria as a DM? Because I love her style of like DMing with the storytelling and everything. And then she just amps it up every time with puzzles, with the maps, with the animation. What is that like for you as a player?
It was really good because it held, obviously she can hold my focus because she's amazing and wonderful and all those things, but it really made me like lean into the game. There was no moment that my brain could wander because I was so invested. I felt like I was listening to the greatest audiobook of all time. So, and I would like keep little notes of things and trying to remember every snapshot thing. But I really enjoy her style. Like, I've never had a DM quite like her. And because she's more theater of the mind and like paints that picture. And this was the first time she had used any battle maps. So she had, let us know that she was a bit nervous about it. But she did such a good job. There's no way I would have thought that was her first time doing anything like that. And just like stepping it up, I think the shadow puppets and the audio recordings and things that they had done were just so far and beyond anything that I was expecting. I was like, maybe this will be kind of goofy, like Starstruck, or like maybe this would be like Fantasy High, or it could be all yakety schmackety. But no, we really got to the heart of family and community and how do we do for others and do for ourselves. And and in the midst of this strike, so it felt a little like, okay, how do we unionize and get ourselves together so that everyone is benefiting in the long run and not just this one particular family.
As a Dimension 20 fan, is there kind of a world that's been established outside of Burrow's End that you would like to play in at some point?
Oh, I would like to go to Leviathan. I thought the pirate season was very, very fun. And the Seven, actually, the Seven, that I love the dynamic. That friend, they just bonded so quickly, and seeing like 7 different personalities and types of femme that are out there. Like, we get, a couple of archetypes, and we got so much range and style from them. I would love to play in that world. And that's kind of the same. That's all Spire, isn't it? I think I just want to be in Spire. But yeah, I would happily come and play in any world that they had. I trust them wholeheartedly.
So the first Stoats are gone. Does Viola think it's done, or does Sheen think that it's going to be worse now?
I don't think it's going to be worse. I think she's so confident in her family that we can, like, everything we did in the outside world, we can easily implicate here. And I'm really trying to think if that totally falls apart, but I want to believe that we think we've got it. It's cool. We got rid of the big baddies who don't like tell the people the truth. And now all of these people are going to have questions for us. And I don't know if we're really going to have all the answers that they really want to hear. So there'll be a lot of politicking for sure.
Didn't you show up and basically kill all their leaders within like 24 hours?
Caitlin, being an animal is almost exactly like being a human. So we just used our animal brains to make decisions, and then we think about the repercussions afterwards. But I am optimistic because now we have hats, so nothing can go wrong.
Yeah, that is true. They established hats. You're good.
And the whole time, I never really pressed the clothing thing, but I love that everyone else at the table is like, I would love to get Rashawn a hat or any sort of gloves of any kind. And I love that Ava, trying so hard to think, invented hats. I hope the Wikipedia pages have been changed for the invention of hats, because now we know concretely how it actually happened.
One of the moments I loved in the fight, Thorn, man, Jasper with those dice is rough.
Oh, and I want to support my man, but also these rolls are terrible.
It's rough watching. I like with the box of doom, I'm like, come on, man, you need like a 10. Let's do this. I love the moment where you gave him inspiration by saying they kicked. Was that just kind of a spur of the moment thing? Yeah,
I was really just trying to do anything to get Abria to give him some sort of advantage, and it was not going to work. I love that she was like, you tried it, and this will never, ever, ever happen again. But, you got to support your man. I was just like, can I send him some loaded dice under the table? Like, how can we fix this? He's got to do, and they're cursed. I think someone like took his dice and put them out under the moon or something to make sure that they were rolling better, because baby, it was bad. I was really trying to not like laugh in his face, because we made a promise to support each other no matter what. But golly, get better dice. And the people of the world, send him dice, please.
Yeah, he needs dice
badly. It was bad. It was so bad.
What has been kind of your favorite and most unexpected thing to explore with Viola this season? Maybe that you didn't initially think would be a standout for you when you were conceptualizing the character.
I didn't think that, based on like other characters that I've played, I didn't think that she'd be as reserved. I mean, I know I came out swinging with that first line because I was trying to be badass cult lady wife, but within the family dynamic, like I feel like because I am a big sister. I'm the oldest of 3. I'm kind of mama bear. So like kind of taking a backseat role to be like a younger sibling and kind of look to the older people and see what we should do was different for me, because I'm just kind of used to like, oh, I made a decision and that's what I want to do. But like having to consult with your partner and your family before you make a decision, like that's not something that's very foreign to me. So leaning into that dynamic was so strange and different for me. But, I like it. I didn't know that I would be so emotionally invested in it. But I guess I was having a great time and I felt comfortable with all of my castmates and I love my character, but I just got really emotional. Like I could just feel like there's going to be a conversation that happens between Tula and Ava and myself that I got the real like lump in the throat. Like I felt like I was confronting an actual parent about something, and just like, I can't speak. As vocal as I am, I was like, if I get that lump in my throat and I can't speak, that's like really like I'm feeling it in my belly and all over. And I had like a guttural reaction. I think after we had done, I think that particular scene, I believe it was like Mother's Day that we were working. And so afterwards we had lunch and we all kind of had a real talk about like family and like how we were feeling. And it just got me really emotional. I had to step outside and kind of calm myself down so I could continue with the rest, like let that happen and, work through the emotion and not carry it into the dome, because I just don't need to feel all my family baggage. That's for when I write my book. But I felt very good and comfortable and supported, very much so, by everyone. They really made me feel like I could go there comfortably, and no one was going to judge me, obviously, for having that sort of reaction or feeling so connected to the people at the table.
Quick recap of what we have in this episode.
Yeah.
Maybe dead.
Mm-hmm.
Heart stopped at some point.
Somewheres.
All the first notes are dead, and you guys have some mutant crazy wolf. What can you tease for the next episode? Because this is a lot of threads I feel like we have to follow.
Okay, teasing for the next episode, if I can recall. There is going to be, without saying anything, there's going to be another tape.
Okay.
There's going to be another recording. There's going to be more things to decipher, because Dr. Winnebacher, if I'm calling that correctly, there's more to the tapes. Baby, there's tapes. There's more information. And there was a point I do remember during the break where, because Erica works in voice acting, was able to like pick up little things that happen in the background. They were like, that's glass shattering. That sounds like it's going through. So it's just, they heard all these details that I didn't personally catch until maybe the third or fourth time that they played it for us. So again, layered, beautiful details that this production has. It's amazing. So yes, listen to the tapes very well, people. Listen to the tapes.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. You are fantastic. I love Burrow's End. I love Dimension 20 in general, but this season, man, it's like, I thought Crown of Candy was traumatizing. You had to bring it to the next level somehow. So I love it.
Thank you so much, and Caitlin, for taking the time to speak to me today about it. And I'm just so thankful that the people who watch have enjoyed what I've done, even though I'm a new person. But I'm really feeling the love from everyone, and I can't wait to see the end, just like everyone else.